Welcome once again to our annual 2021 Candidate Interview Forum here in the Delray Beach Community Forum. I am Shaun, one of your admins here, and I'm happy you've tuned in tonight for, a great interview with a candidate running for, either a commission spot or our mayor position. So we're happy to have you here. We hope you enjoy the following interview. But beforehand, we want to take a second to thank our partners, Robes Law Group. They've stepped up and sponsored this interview series this year to allow us to bring you a much better quality product than we were able to bring you last year, while remaining within the COVID standards and regulations to keep all of this virtually. So to talk a little bit more about the community involvement and Robes Law Group, I'm going to bring in Tom Robes. Tom, good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Shaun. Great to see you, and thank you for allowing Robes Law Group to partner with the Delray Beach Community Forum for this important event. Here at Robes Law Group, we've helped out thousands of people throughout the years, either through our outreach, through our philanthropic endeavors, and just by helping people who've been injured in motor vehicle crashes and slip and falls and things of that nature. But one of the things that's always been important to us is making sure that our clients and other members of the community have accurate information and to make sure that they're well educated when they're making decisions with their claims. And so naturally, when this opportunity presented itself, we thought it would be great so that our local community can have accurate information, be well educated when they go ahead and cast their votes.
Thank you very much for that, Tom. And without further ado, let's get to tonight's interview. I hope you enjoy it. Good morning, Delray Beach Community Forum. I am Shaun Hall. I'm one of the admins of the Delray Beach Community Forum, and I have the pleasure today of bringing to you the last in our interview series for the Delray Beach Commission and mayoral candidates. Again, we're lucky enough to be partnering with Robes Law Group on these interview series. Robes has been a really great community partner for a long time, and we're happy to work in conjunction with them on this. If you don't know, Robes Law Group is a law firm here in town. So if you ever have the unfortunate opportunity of being involved in a car accident or a personal injury incident, give Robes a call at 561-570-5700 or on their website, robeslawgroup.com. Today, we are lucky enough to have our current mayor, Shelly Petrolia, with us. Shelly is running against challenger Tracy Caruso for the mayor seat here in Delray Beach. This race has been one that's been highly publicized in the area, and I personally am excited to hear about Shelly's plans and visions for the next few years in Delray Beach. So, without further ado, allow me to bring on our current mayor, Shelly Petrolia. Shelly, how are you today?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Oh, not bad for a fine Sunday morning.
You got it.
Got some coffee in me, got a couple donuts, and I'm ready to fire on all cylinders.
Can't say anything. I have anything different in me, so there we go.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you. I know this race has been very heated, very charged, and having either been to or witnessed most of the debates thus far, I can tell everybody's very passionate about the city and has very, different ideas on how they think we could best get there. So I'm excited to hear about what you have to say and learn about your ideas and your visions as we push forward in Delray Beach.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to letting everybody know where I stand and also, where I feel like we should be going. Awesome.
Well, with that, let's get into the questions. The questions have all been submitted by members from the Delray Beach Community Forum. So it's stuff that, we found probably the top 4 most popular themes of questions and then kind of worked them into actual askable question, because we get a lot of paragraphs and stories about things. It's like, well, where was the question? So we've formatted these to be nice, just easy to understand questions. So
sure, great.
The first one I know is a hot button topic, and it centers around economic development. While a broad term, economic development, it is as important now to Delray Beach as it ever was before. So this is kind of a 2-part question. So I'll give you the first part. Do you believe Delray Beach should have a full-time economic development director dedicated to assessing Delray's current economic strengths and weaknesses?
Okay, so it's 2-part, but this is the first part.
This is the first part. Yep.
Very good. Absolutely, I do. I believe that we absolutely need an economic development director. And when we had an economic development director, we found that we were able to attract more businesses to our town, and also that they were really kind of driving the future of our economy, where we wanted to focus. Just to give you a good sense of how important this person is to our community and our city. When we started going down the path of COVID and started seeing so many businesses struggling, we combined the economic development director with our DDA and the Chamber of Commerce and the city. That would be me. The four of us would meet on a monthly basis and discuss what was happening and how do we mitigate the outfall coming from COVID. And some of the best ideas came from that group, going down south, finding out if they're, putting teasers out there, trying to find people to come up to Delray Beach that always wanted to be, having a store or a business in Delray Beach. And then also combining that with the CRA and having some dollars to go in and help that business come here, incentivize the business coming here, whether it's to help with some build out on the inside of the business so that it wouldn't be as difficult a transition for them. So, the economic development director is key to our future. And like we all know, business is an engine that runs this city, this town. And least we forget that, we will find ourselves down a rabbit hole, I'm sure, not where we want to be. So yes, strongly support having an economic development director in Delray Beach.
Awesome. As I mentioned, it was a two-part question, so we'll get into the second part, and then I can follow up there. Do you believe Delray Beach needs a comprehensive economic development plan that encompasses short-term, intermediate-term, and long-term actionable economic development goals?
I think it can't hurt, for sure. Absolutely. It's always great to have a plan. The problem with sometimes, the city is sticking with the plan. We have a city's comprehensive plan that really gives us our kind of almost a route to our future. Unfortunately, we don't always stick with that plan. And, sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't. But when we are developing a plan like an economic development plan or a comprehensive plan, there is a lot of voices that go into that plan. It's not just one person's idea of what we should be doing. This is the community coming together and putting forth their vision where they want to see Delray go. So it's really kind of important for us to stick to plans. But absolutely, I think it cannot hurt, and I think it would be very beneficial for our town to have an economic plan going forward in the future. That would actually, I think, maybe even alleviate some of the movement of business into areas that maybe they shouldn't be moving into. Give you an example. I know that we have a warehouse district that's a very, very small percentage of our area, and right now we're eating into that. And, that can have long-term effects to a city. So these are the types of things that in an economic plan, it would probably, it reinforce the idea of the importance of places like warehouse districts versus, commercial areas and so on. So yes, I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of a consensus among most of the interviews that we've done so far. Have there been any issues or any roadblocks that have happened on the way to maybe putting that into place that you faced, or any opposition or anything like that?
No, not to my knowledge. And in fact, I'm not really, aware that there has been a push towards it. But we just came through doing a vulnerability study. We finished our comprehensive plan, and that, of course, has to now go into the phase of changing our land use regulations to, match the comprehensive plan. So that's in the process right now. It's very, very arduous, and it takes a lot of time. And then we also did a seawall study. So we've done a lot of planning. It seems, kind of a good time to now take a hold and move forward with an economic plan. It's the timing is right. It's absolutely perfect right now.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I mean, that's It's a need I think the city absolutely needs to, continue to look into and kind of
Mhm.
grow towards. And I agree with you on that one. Now the second question, a little bit harder. We're going to work
Okay.
up to it until
Okay.
until that arduous fourth question comes out. So
Oh, jeez.
it's actually my favorite question.
Be careful. It's Sunday morning.
I know we both have to go to church after this, so I'll try
That's
to
right.
keep my sins minimum.
Okay.
Second question is going to be centered around infrastructure.
Mhm.
So as you know, as everybody's pointed out to you, I'm sure throughout this election cycle, Delray is facing a litany of infrastructure issues. The big three that we saw throughout the emailed questions from our members were water quality, rising sea levels among the barrier island and intracoastal, and the aging underground utility system. If reelected, how would you address these issues?
Okay, when I'm reelected, we are
Sorry.
actually we are already addressing several of them. First of all, let's talk about the underground utilities. Start with the end first. One of the things that has been left to go for a very long period of time before I became mayor, and even during the time that I was commissioner, was we were working towards trying to get the focus back on infrastructure. It wasn't there for a long period of time, and roads were not being kept up. And as you can see, as a result of that, we have now roads everywhere that need to be redone, kind of almost all at once, which is really tough. So one of the things that I lobbied the city to do, and they did do, was to make sure that the underground utilities are in good shape before we start doing the top level of our infrastructure. It's the things that you can't see that sometimes can come back and really bite you. So what we did was we scoped out all of the underground piping to see where it was most concerning and what needed to be done in order to be able to reinforce or have to replace those underground utilities first. So we're doing that in conjunction with the roads that are needing to be done as well. So that's a good thing. We're kind of a little further down the road with respect to the underground utilities and knowing where they're most the weakest points. Now, rising tides, that's an issue that I think is probably, there's nobody on the commission currently that knows more about what's going on with the rising tides. Ever since I was elected in 2013, I attended the South Florida Regional Climate Change Compact. And that was a great opportunity to learn all about what's happening with sea level rise and how it's affecting cities, both south of us and to the north of us, but also ours. And so this is something that really kind of spawned on or spurred on the vulnerability study that we did. That study gave us a good understanding as to what these sea level, where we're most vulnerable with sea level rise. And it also encouraged us to know that we've got a tremendous amount of money that's going to be needed in the probably not so distant future, 5 to 10 years. So what are we doing about it? We're actually making our goals to include about a $400 million upgrade to the lowest lying and most vulnerable areas in town to make sure that we've got pump stations in place that can pump out the water. This is not something that just affects the properties that are along the intercoastal. It affects even western properties because as the sea level rises, so does our water table. So lower lying areas to our west are also going to start feeling the changes. And in fact, if you can go into certain neighborhoods that are a little bit lower, and you'll find that when there's just even a heavy rain, that the swales will fill with water, and that water doesn't percolate down as quickly as it used to. It sits and sometimes stagnates because the water table is so high underneath us in these low-lying areas that it's not seeping and going down into the ground as it used to do. So these are all things that we have to now determine. How are we going to mitigate this? It's a problem that is not going to get better. It's only going to get worse, and we have to figure out how to deal with water. It has to do with pump stations. It has to do with raising we're going to have to raise roads eventually, and then of course our base level for foundations for homes are going to have to be raised as well. This is going to be over a long period of time, but again, if we don't start doing something now, it just hurts our future. The third part is the water, and we're talking about potable water at this point, I'm sure. Listen, I have to tell you, I mean, I know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding the drinking water in Delray Beach, but I want to make sure everybody recognizes that the experts, not the people that are running for the election, the experts in our city and also the governmental agencies that oversee our water quality are satisfied with the I guess it's the all the what do they call it? I'm losing my train of thought here. The testing samples and the testing levels that come out on a daily basis. So every single day we test our water, and that water either meets or exceeds the standards. If we were not, okay, let's just say that we are having a problem with our drinking water, the governmental agencies that are regulated to make sure that our water is safe to drink would come in and shut us down. That's what would happen. In fact, we kind of saw that happen with the reclaimed water, but they would absolutely shut us down and force us to have to get our water elsewhere. Generally, what would happen in a really extreme case is we would have to go to our neighbors and link in to their water supply, and we'd have to pay for using their water. So that should be enough of a comfort level to know that there isn't anything that's immediately concerning about our water that we're drinking. I'm drinking it. It's the same water that everybody else gets. But let me just say this. In the process of all of this, kind of angst about our water, I heard very clearly that the public is not satisfied with our water, the quality of our water. Even though it does meet the standards, it does have a tint to it. I know that. I'm personally, I remember renovating a bathroom and filling up a tub and looking at the water and saying to my husband, sorry, not getting into that. And then the next day I called up the city and said, what's wrong with the water? And of course I got the whole explanation that there's nothing wrong with the water. It's completely safe and potable, and you can bathe in it. And that alleviated my fears, but I understand the turnoff. So we can have better water. And what I'm hearing from my constituency here is that they want better water. So it is going to be my goal to make sure that water is, a new water treatment plant is in our future. And because of the fact that I've got the experience on the dais to get things done, I'm going to get that ball rolling completely down that hill before my 3-year term is up for the next term, so that we can make sure that we are delivering better water quality than what we have already. So those are the 3 answers to your questions about infrastructure.
Awesome, thank you. And just because I know the water quality issue has been a very hot button topic, and I know you've been pressed for it, is there anything now, since we don't have a time limit or anybody else here in the room, basically, is there anything that you wish the community would know that you haven't had a chance to get out there yet because of any distractions or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I think that what I want the citizens to understand is that during election cycles, people look for reasons to bump off a sitting commissioner or mayor. And, if there is a concerted effort to attempt to pin something on a mayor, that next person in line is going to jump in and try to continue that. In order to be able to put themselves in a position like they're going to come in and save the day. It happened with, just as an example, it happened with her husband when he was running for the state house. He sent out an email that basically said that we were defunding our police, and there was no truth to that. In fact, we were increasing the budget and the police department and not decreasing it. And you know, sometimes these things pay off. And even though I think that there were a lot of people that were bamboozled by that, it was crazy because I watched and he was corrected, by the way, and he still sent out a second, a third, and a fourth email, plus some robocalls blaming me for defunding the police. And it was a sham. And but it got him back in. And because people, you know, when they read something, they think it's true. They don't necessarily do the research, and it starts to kind of create a truth that's not that's actually a fallacy. And when you know, I look back on that and I say, you know, why would you do that? And of course, now that I know why, it was to shake the foundation of the current mayor so his wife could, you know, enter the race. But the truth is that to use people as pawns in something like defunding the police or water safety is reprehensible, because you are really making, and especially during a pandemic where people are already concerned and upset and feeling lonely and all of these different things that we haven't had a society have to go through together. So I just find it to be just the lowest form of politicking out there. You know, all she has to do is go to our utilities director and talk to our utilities director. I don't run the water utilities, and I don't even understand when they're getting all those numbers out, what those numbers mean. That has to be interpreted to me as it probably would to you.
Yeah.
And so when you talk to the experts, the people who understand and know, they would give her a different understanding. And you know, the funny thing is that she has supporters out there that are running in this race that also disagree with her. There's only one person on the campaign trail that feel like we've got a problem with our water, and it's my opponent. But she's no expert. So, you know, I hope that the people are not listening and getting concerned about this, because it is an issue that should never be used as a political football. It is reprehensible to use something like that, just as it was for her husband to use this defunding issue. And by the way, nothing changed when he was you know, in his race, but yet he claimed victory, that he had all of a sudden, you know, forced the city not to defund the police. But there was absolutely no change from the very beginning to the end. That's just political BS that happens in a campaign, and it's unfortunate that people are used as the pawns.
Yeah, you know, as admin of the forum, I deal with a lot of grandstanding, a lot of different opportunity, a lot of different opinions, a lot of different you know, things. So I get, you know, the kind of frustration, but on a micro level compared to what you're dealing with running for mayor.
Yeah.
Obviously, I deal with enough of just trying to be the admin of Delray Beach Community Forum and all of those opinions and whatnot. So, no, I appreciate you clearing that up, and
yeah, sure.
I really wanted to give you that opportunity to kind of get
appreciate it.
stuff out, because from what I've seen thus far through some of the debates and the forums and stuff, you only get that certain 2 minutes, and it's tough to really get everything out in 2 minutes. So we wanted to give you
absolutely. And as a matter of fact, a lot of times they don't even give you the opportunity to respond, and so it sits there. An absolute falsehood sits there, and you can't even respond to it because they're on to the next question with you. And you know, you want to get your answers in and not just feel like you're being you know, defensive. It's not a defense situation here. It's a truthful situation. And I hate to say it, but the media is supporting it, and it's very, very disappointing to see media not going to the experts, but allowing for a disgruntled employee, Mr. Gretzis, or a hopeful for the mayor's position, Ms. Caruso, leading the charge in determining whether or not our water is safe or not to drink. It's just insane to me. I mean, where is the media and fact checking?
Well, hopefully we can provide a little of that for you through our interview series here. So I said that they were going to get progressively more intense as we got up to
bring it on.
Question. So
I'm just getting warmed up too.
All right, good. So number 3, there is empirical evidence of continued racial disparity in education and opportunity here in Delray Beach. When reelected, if you'll allow me to correct myself from earlier, what do you think what would you do to remedy this? What do you think would remedy this this concern?
You're talking about disparity in the education system?
Empirical evidence of continued racial disparity in education and opportunity.
Okay, absolutely. The education part of this is very difficult for the city to directly impact. We are not obviously in direct control of the county's school board. I think that that has to come through the school board. However, there are things that we can do and are doing to help balance that out. We have programs, after school programs and mentoring programs, and we're also helping non-for-profits that assist our school-aged children, and mostly from areas in need. Not necessarily the areas that are not in need, but anybody's welcome. So we are doing what we can with respect to that. We have also put our money where our mouth is, understanding that there was a, a, a lesser ability to be able to get internet service into certain areas of our town. And by the way, the areas of need. So we were able to give some money to put some boosters into these areas so that children who are home and trying to learn at home were not disadvantaged. So that's something that we did just recently. I would say probably in the last couple of months. When we were asked, we stepped forward and helped. So we understand the disparity does exist, and it is something that has probably, well, it has existed forever, but it needs to change. It absolutely needs to change. We have a little bit more control over the disparity in the city, and I look at that from the standpoint of who's getting contracts. Why are we not seeing more minorities and women businesses and small businesses getting contracts in the city of Delray Beach? Part of that has to do with the fact that we're not able to right now give a contract just because somebody is a minority business. They have to meet with the standards of an RFP or an ITB, those types of things. And it doesn't talk about race or creed or color or gender or anything like that. We're not allowed to discriminate. But we are in the process of doing what is called a disparity study. And this is really important. Once a city does a disparity study and determines that there are much fewer minority businesses and women-owned businesses doing business in Delray Beach, that is the vehicle that gives us the ability to be able to allow for a leg up or a step up to a minority business or a woman business, a small business or a business owned by a woman. So this is the opportunity for us to start to level the playing field. That's never been done in Delray Beach. Now, I know that there are a couple other cities that are in front of us. We have been talking about this for a very long period of time. I didn't really have the support. I always had the support of the city commission, but it was interesting. We all agreed that we wanted the disparity study done, a couple of years ago. It just never was done. So there was not the cooperation by the city to get this done. This last budgetary time frame, we found we had a gap in the budget, and they had a list of items to cut. And interestingly enough, the disparity study was on that list. And luckily, I had my colleagues support me in saying, no, it's not getting cut, and we're moving forward with it. So that is one of the things that we're doing currently in order to be able to help to change up. Now, that's just one little tiny, pinprick, but it will be helpful of how the city can help with the disparity of our citizens. We are doing what we can. One of the biggest issues that I feel like I did, and it was not with a lot of support, and it's what's causing a lot of the pushback and the anger and resentment towards me right now in this race, was taking over the CRA. We have certain members of our community that were sitting on that CRA that were not doing what needed to be done in order to be able to make sure that the money was going in the direction of those in need and not those that basically had a handout. So it was a very difficult thing to do. I knew I was going to get a lot of pushback, and it's been 3 years of having to withstand the battle and the beatings that I've been receiving, but that's okay. I've got a good, strong, thick hide on my back, and I can take it. But I know it was the right move. And here's the reason why I know it was the right move. as soon as I became the chair of that, board, I made it very clear to everybody on the east side of Swinton that no more money was coming in that direction, with the exception of those that we were in the process. We had already made the promise. There was some money that we spent over on Third and Third, kind of the northeast section, I believe it is, over by Bednar's. Those roads over there were required, and needed upgrading, and we had already put the money was already promised, and then also Osceola Park. So those are the only two areas east of Swinton that we're actually spending money on, from CRA directive. Now, with all the extra money that we weren't spending on the eastern sections of Swinton, we have been able to put into housing. And this has been great. We can actually, now we have 20 new homes coming that are just about ready to break ground. And we also have 10 homes that we've just completed or just at the point of completing that are affordable housing. So instead of putting it into the money of these millionaires and giving them incentives like Atlantic Crossing or IPIC, which was happening in the past, we're actually putting it into the communities and making sure that we are building our inventory of affordable housing so that people who can't afford to continue to stay here will be able to afford to stay here. So I know it's a small drip in the bucket, but every little bit helps. And you have now a very different direction by the commission that's sitting on the board for the CRA in making sure that we're getting lighting, we're getting streets, we're getting the alleyways done in areas that were left behind for decades. All the alleys in the eastern sections of town are all paved. The alleys in the western sections of town are not. There's a big disparity there. It should not be that way. So we are absolutely putting our money where our mouth is, and we are not going to be leaving the Northwest Southwest community until we get it up to speed and make sure that they've got all of the general, kind of infrastructure that every other area of our town has. So anyway, those are some of the things that I think that our city is doing and will continue to do under my leadership, certainly, and hopefully anybody else's leadership, that recognizes these are areas that we need to focus on and have been long since forgotten and have been made promises for decades that have never materialized until just recently. So, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm glad you brought up affordable housing too. Be it, I'm a renter here in Delray. My wife and I are looking for housing. We'd like a single family home, and we've found that the inventory is just very low right now. And
Absolutely.
While rates are low, prices are still a little high. So it's a fun time to try to buy a house here in Delray Beach. So, but yeah,
I don't envy you.
Yeah, you never know. I love the city, so whatever we have to do to stay here, we will. But I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's an important thing going forward, not just for the Northwest, Southwest communities, but just Delray Beach in general, as far as that goes. And like we talked to, kind of back and forth, Delray has become kind of like the it town.
Yes, it has.
So there's been a lot of, awesome attention being paid to and a lot of interest in Delray Beach. So personally, I think it's great. Whatever we can do to kind of keep fostering the city's image is amazing there.
Agreed.
Now that brings me to the dreaded question number 4. Delray Beach has a lot of positives. There's a lot of things that everybody likes about Delray Beach. So that being said, what is your favorite part about Delray Beach?
Wow, there are so many places and so many things that are my favorite part about Delray Beach. You know what? I'll tell you what my favorite part is. It's the feeling that I get when I'm driving around Delray and I see things that remind me of how it used to be, and that they're still part of the fabric of what's happening now. I love the fact that we have a town that feels nostalgic but has this incredible vibe, and that we have just a little bit of everything. We're like a small town, but with big town opportunities. It's amazing. When I say that, I mean culturally we're diverse. We have arts. We have culture as far as entertainment. We've got outdoor facilities that can you can go to and listen to a concert for free. We have a downtown vibe that is unmatched, and this is all in the setting of a main street that heads right to some of the most beautiful beaches along the eastern seaboard. We have a dune system that is the envy of many cities to the north and south of us. You know, these are all things that were, you know, done so well in the past that it is an honor, and almost I have to pinch myself to be the mayor of a town of this magnitude. It's just amazing. I love the people that are here. They're dynamic, they're different, they're challenging, they're involved and engaged. I love the businesses that are here. So it's just everything. It's the feeling that I get when I'm driving around town. I just think that there's just no place like this place, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running, because I want to protect it. I don't want to see us get carved up and become a mini, Fort Lauderdale. And I know that there is developers out there that would love to do that because there's a lot of money to be made here, but it's at the sacrifice, to a certain degree, of our quality of life. So it's important for us to recognize that what we have is very special, and it's worth being, it's worth protecting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And that's always been the argument, in Delray Beach, is the people that want to keep it just the small sleepy beach town versus the people that want to see some vibrant, developments and things come into town to give people more options to stay and more options to dine and things like that. So I think thus far, we've done a decent job here in Delray Beach as far as
Absolutely.
keeping that kind of duality where you
Absolutely.
can walk up and down the Ave and see the little mom and pop, shops, but also have, a place like Elizabeth's you can go to.
Absolutely. I was just going to mention that Elizabeth's you can walk into that you feel like you could be walking into in Manhattan,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like, it's like you've got everything here. And by the way, everybody thinks that there's, it's either you want development or you don't want development. That's not true. We want sensible development. I mean, I don't want to be in a town that's not developing and moving along and progressing. Of course not. But at a pace that makes sense for those of us that are here, and also that makes sense for what kind of traffic it's going to bring, what kind of resources it's going to draw from our current, limited and resources, and what it's going to bring to our town that's beneficial. You don't want to just do things because you do things. You want to make sure that it fits and it makes sense, and and that's kind of the whole kind of balance that it takes when you're in these positions where you're making decisions. It's not that you want to say no to everything, but you want to make sure that if something's coming in that's going to be a little bit harder to live with, well, what are you bringing to the table? And that's what we're doing also with affordable housing, so that when these apartment complexes are coming in, and there's a lot of them that are interested, we want to see what they're going to be bringing to the table. What kind of affordable housing aspect are you going to be bringing to us for us to allow you to come to town and carve out another little section of the town for a different, zoning or whatever they're looking for. So we're trying to make sure that it's the give back now. It used to be that everybody was dying for business, so it was just like they would give away the store. We're not in that position anymore. We are kind of like that it town, so we can ask for something in return. And I think that we need to ask for something that makes sense for our town.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. As we kind of wrap things up a little bit, we kind of get to your closing remarks. And again, you could give a standard closing remark. You could go untraditional. You could, it's basically just time for you to kind of wrap up your visions, your ideas, your ideals, everything that you want to do. Again, there's no time limit. So I will turn the dais over to you, and you can, give your closing remarks.
Very good. Well, I didn't get an open remark, so I just wanted everybody to know. Then that's fine. It's no big deal. I just wanted to make sure everybody is aware that I am a native Palm Beach County resident, second generation, raising 4 boys here, and they're my children. So I've been through the school system. I've been through the parks and recreations, everything. So I understand things that my counterpart has no clue about. I have sat on the dais for 8 years, and this has given me a tremendous amount of experience that I can draw from in order to be able to get things done. When I first came on as a commissioner, it took me some time to really recognize and understand how things got done in government. It's very different than in private industry, and that's what you do when you're running for mayor. You need to have that background and experience to step from in order to be able to understand how to get things done. Again, I don't think that it would be a good idea to change up at this point in time, especially in the lead position as mayor. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We have over 100 businesses that have shut down in our town. We have a lot of challenges in front of us with respect to COVID, getting the vaccines, and also what happens after COVID. What does our landscape look like? Are we going to have big box businesses anymore? Everybody has learned a different way to do business, and that's through mail order and bringing it in through all these different agencies. Our supplies coming to our house are not necessarily that we have to go out and get them. We're actually ordering them online. And that was new to most of us because most of us were not using online services in order to be able to get our services, our goods. So we have to start now thinking, how is that going to affect our town? And is it going to change the vibe, the dynamic? These are the kinds of things that somebody who's been here for a long period of time and understands what the importance is in moving forward would be able to grapple with. Whereas somebody who's coming in with no clue, no understanding of how government works because they've never spent a day on the dais as a commissioner, I think it's going to be too big of a challenge. I really do. I also feel that there are things that are innate when you're in this position, as long as I have been in, that you recognize how to get things done quicker. Government is like molasses in the dead of winter. That's how slow it moves. But I've learned how to get things moving a little bit quicker because of the experience that I have in sitting on the dais for 5 years, watching as my counterpart, Mayor Glickstein, maneuvered through things. I could watch to see how he did things, and also looking at other cities and how they're doing things better than we are. So that experience is going to come by way of somebody like myself, not like my opponent. So I just want to say that it's been an honor to serve, and it would be an honor to serve for another 3 years. And I think that I will bring to the city the passion that I have and the drive that I have, and also the understanding of where we are in this crisis to be able to move through it. And by the way, I just want to make sure that everybody recognizes that, we have done very, very well throughout this crisis. And I believe that we're going to do very well moving forward through the back end of this pandemic. So I'm very positive, feeling very good about where we stand and also where we're going. And if I have that opportunity, I will lead as I have before with like passion and determination. And so I hope that I'll get your vote.
Well, Mayor Petrolia, I really appreciate you being here today and being able to share those thoughts and those visions and those ideas to everybody. I think, the city's on its right track, and I think, the future is bright no matter who takes over the commission or, the mayor's seat. I think, everybody's got a passion for this city, and that's one of the things that I love about it. So I won't take up too much of your time. I know you got a busy Sunday planned, but
I do.
Thank you for being here, and thank you
so much, Shaun, and thanks for the invitation. And like I said, when you hit me with the question as to whether or not to come in and do the interview, it was like at a point where I think there was like 3 going on, and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, not another interview. But listen, I'm so glad to have been able to have you reach out to me one more time, and it's good to be here so I can get the word out. And also thank you for your persistence. Sometimes it takes that, because you got to remember, I don't not do my jobs because I'm running as a commissioner. I mean, I was a mayor. I'm still doing the work of the mayor and also running, my family and doing all the things that I do at home. So it's a big job when you're taking on another full time.
Absolutely. And I felt it was just super important, since you are the sitting mayor, that you get your viewpoints heard as well and have the equal opportunity to everybody else. So thank you again for being here, and have a wonderful
Thank you, Shaun. Have a great day.